Falcon fans, what's going on, everybody? This is your boy Berto, your host of the 95 North Falcons Talk Show, man. Thank you so very much, man. I'm going to take a little bit of your Friday evening, man, but I'm going to thank you for doing that, man. Thank you for allowing us to come in your stream or in your TV via your whatever you use, mobile app, YouTube, you name it. Thank you very much for allowing us to come through and talk a little bit about these Falcons. Schedule reveal time, man. Another exciting time in this NFL world for all 32 teams, but specifically for our Atlanta Falcons, man. We finally know the matchups. We can make the plans. We can reach out to who's who, man. Be like, yo, we're gonna meet up for this game. What's the word? So we can do all that and get all that popping and squared away. But before we get started, man, I got two very special guests with me this evening to break down this schedule, this 2024 schedule. I got my guy Mark Cheney and Brice Lewis, man. Gentlemen, please introduce yourselves to this Falcons world. I'll kick it off with you, Mark.
Appreciate you, Berto. First of all, appreciate you having me on. It's always dope to link up with you, man. So my name is Marquise Cheney. I know a lot of you all saw me from the Atlanta Bird Gang days, and I know a lot of y'all seen me from Bleacher Report. So, like I said, definitely good to see you all again. And Berto, appreciate you having me, man.
Of course. And we got an esteemed pleasure and honor to be on here with Brice Lewis, ladies and gentlemen, man, making his way through this Falcon circle, Hawk circle. Man, let's get it popping. Brice, how you doing this evening, man?
Hey, man, I'm doing all right, man. I appreciate you inviting me on. Glad to talk some Falcons with you today, man. I try to do what I can. I feel like I've been really busy this week with a lot of stuff, so really picking up for the summer. But I'd rather have it no other way. So I appreciate you, man, for sure, Berto.
Oh, absolutely, man, absolutely. And before we get into that, we're gonna hit some Falcons news. But before that, man, we gotta shout out the folks that are in the chat. We got the Miss Beautiful, Miss Carrie is in the building. Falcons fan, I'm excited for the show tonight. And yes, that's a fact. Happy birthday to Matty Ice, the Falcons GOAT, man. Happy birthday to Matt Ryan, Matty Ice, man. My brother Dwayne Ruffin is in the building. Deep, what is happening? My brother John Brooks is in the building. My brother Smitty Sports Machine. Well, this man is on a rampage, man. Soon to be 11K, Smitty, goddammit. We trying to get like him in this content creator world, man. Shout out to Antoine Smitty Smith and the Smitty Sports Machine, my other co-host as the tandem, all the triplets, the 95 North Sports Machine. Mom Dukes is in the building, always supporting commentators. Bendición, mommy. Hope all is well with you. My uncle and everybody's favorite Uncle Steve is in the building. Nothing better on a Friday night than Mark Bricey and a scoop of butter pecan. God damn, the disrespect is starting. But let me not say it all on camera like that. All love, man. Make sure you guys definitely go out and support Smitty Sports Machine on YouTube and Uncle Steve's Lounge as well. Tony Wright is in the building. Oh, Smitty with the jokes, man. Unbelievable, man. But fellas, man, a little bit of Falcons news earlier in the day, man, as this draft class is getting signed, named to paper, whatever you want to call it, man. But it's happening. Braylon Trice, third round pick for the Falcons, signed today, 4-year, $5.9 million deal. Sweet deal. I'm glad that these deals now are a little bit more condensed and they don't really cripple the ball clubs like they used to in the past. But with that also was announced the release of Ade Ogundeji, 2021 fourth round pick out of Notre Dame. Finds his way out of Atlanta. Insert Braylon Trice. Gentlemen, your thoughts right quick on today's transactions for the Atlanta Falcons. Mark.
Yeah, I mean, definitely good to, going to get the Rook signed and, get him ready for camp. And then, as far as I know he went out with IR early last season, but do y'all think he would have made the team last year? So, I mean, wasn't too surprised with that move. And, it's always good to put a little bit more money back in your pocket. So,
yeah, that releasing Ade help the Falcons save $3 million in cap space. I'm sure that that's going to go to either, the Michael Penix or Brandon Dorlus, both rookies who still remain unsigned with the ball club. But Bryson, what do you feel about the today's transactions thus far?
But I think, today, obviously, it's good to get Trice locked up. Go ahead and get him secured up. Luckily, like I said, especially for the late round picks, they've always been kind of easy to lock up. So it's always good to get that going, especially for camps. Mandatory camps come up. And then, obviously, Owen Deji, I mean, we knew after last year that probably was the end. Obviously, it's unfortunate because he got hurt. But, I think, they clearly made an investment in defensive line this offseason. So you knew there was going to be some people who were going to be the odd people out. And Owen Deji was one of them. And we'll see if that ends up impacting anywhere else in the D-line as the summer goes on, as we go towards training camp.
Yeah. Very fair assumption there. And another little tidbit now. So more than half of the 2021 draft class for this Falcons team is gone from this roster. Ade Ogundeji gone. Jalen Mayfield is gone. Darren Hall is gone. Who else? Darby is out. So the only rookies, the only players that remain on this Falcons team from the 2021 draft is, of course, Kyle Pitts, and we're going to touch a little bit on him because he has some interesting comments earlier today as well. But Kyle Pitts, second round pick Richie Grant, and fifth round pick Tyler Algier, if I'm not mistaken, are still. And I believe Avery Williams. So those four gentlemen still on the roster, but hopefully that's it. Hopefully we don't see a mass exodus of draft picks like we're accustomed to seeing under that Thomas Dimitroff era, where there were just draft choices gone before your very own eyes, man. So we don't need that anymore. Hopefully these four guys that I mentioned that are still on the roster can continue to make an impact. And going to impact, Kyle Pitts' comments earlier from today when asked by Pro Football Weekly, how do you feel or what motivates you now that the Falcons have picked up your fifth-year option? And he goes on to say, that it shows that they have faith in me. I ask you, gentlemen, like, what do you feel? How big of an impact do you see Kyle Pitts having, or is this make or break for Kyle Pitts? Let's just put it like that. This 2024 year campaign.
I think for Pitts, really, man, I think this is going to be a big year for him. I think you have an offense that actually is designed to help him have a big year. You've heard it. You heard, Raheem talk about it. He said that we're going to use Kyle. We're going to, make him involved. Obviously, that's what we've been waiting for. I mean, there's so many things, that can impact the receiver's production, is like if they're not getting the ball, things of that nature. Obviously, Pitts coming back from that injury wasn't 100% healthy last year, played through it. And, this year he looks like he looks good, feels good, and they're excited to see what he can do, especially with Kirk Cousins at the helm. So I think you should be expecting Pitts to get closer to that 1,000-yard season that he had his rookie year, and for him to score a little bit more touchdowns. I mean, obviously, they have the ball has to spread around, but I think that he will be an option. I think we'll see him used in a way we haven't seen him used yet, and that's going to be the biggest thing. Sometimes when you're not placed in a position to be the most successful, that can sometimes happen. We're not going to have to worry about tight end 3 getting, passes in the end zone off a trick play anymore. We know that Kyle Pitts will probably be the main target, the primary target. And I'm very interested to see how the chemistry develops between him and Kirk Cousins.
Gotcha, man. And yeah, for those that forgot, man, that was Jonnu Smith against Tennessee when he tried that infamous pass, man. Something that Arthur Smith, oh God, that name, he loved to do in his time in Atlanta was, just try whatever trickery. But but Mark, what do you have to say about Kyle Pitts' comments, man?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, like Brice said, we don't have to worry about passes or jet sweeps anymore for tight end number 2. But yeah, I mean, like Brice said, man, he's in a situation where he can succeed. I think for me, a successful season for Kyle Pitts is just moving the chains, man. When you're in the red zone, are you taking 2 to 3 sets of eyes? Just are you opening up things for your teammates? He doesn't have to have the best statistical year, in my opinion, to have a good year. Again, we have so many weapons. You look at Drake London, you add Mooney, you have Bajan in year 2. We don't need him to have 1,000 yards for the Falcons to be successful. When, the past couple of years, he was essentially our wide receiver 1. We didn't really have a strong wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3. So, we had so much expectations for him. Now I think, again, if he can just move the chains, he could be clutch on third down, kind of just be that Travis Kelce role where, again, you're always open, you're always taking attention. To me, he should have a good year. So, again, I just want to set those expectations because, he is healthy. He's with he's with Kirk Cousins now. But I just don't think he has to be the guy. He doesn't have to live up to the number 4 pick height for him to have a good season in Atlanta this season, man.
And I think right here, Smitty, pretty much sums it up right here, man. It's Pitts' make or break. He has a competent quarterback now. No more excuses. And we saw how successful tight ends have been under, Kirk Cousins' tutelage, or with in an offense involving a tight end. Kirk Cousins being the quarterback. T.J. Hawkinson, who left from the Lions, went to the Vikings. He balled out. Irv Smith balled out. So there is success in the connection of of Kirk Cousins and Kyle Pitts. There's gonna be succession there. I would like to see Pitts utilized more in that natural tight end set. Hand in the ground. Some say, no, you got to use his skill set. It's like, no, you know something. You drafted Bijan 8th overall last year to use him in a multitude of ways, and I think Zach Robinson's offense is really gonna it's gonna get the best out of him. Drake London is knocking on the door to break out. So you have 2 core pieces right there that you can heavily rely on and just allow Pitts to be that more traditional tight end, work the middle. A lot of teams are afraid of the middle because a lot of the defenses nowadays are equipped to stop a lot of schemes from the middle. He's a mismatch nightmare, man. So you're lining him up against, by standard, just short players. Nickelbacks are traditionally short. Outside linebackers, they really don't have the height or speed to keep up with a guy that's 6'6", 6'7", running down the field, running 4'4". So that's where you want to utilize him and have everything else around him actually open up running lanes for Bijan. Some windows or seam windows for Drake London and Darnell Mooney. So I mean, I think Pitts his impact this year is. It's going to be felt. It's going to be good. And we cannot forget, as Malone says right here, man, Algier is another key. This is a guy that's coming off of, a 1,000-yard season in his own right just 2 years ago. So he cannot be forgotten. So it's going to be interesting. You can almost say, and this might sound foolish, but Pitts could probably be the forgotten guy in some ways, in some instances, when you have so many pieces involved in this offense. And if they have good success, you're not really gonna account so much for Pitts, man. And that's where the impact will probably come. And then you'll start seeing coverages roll his way, or more natural, or, different defensive sets to just kind of hyper focus on what he has been doing. But all in all, man, I feel like this is probably a make or break year for Kyle Pitts, but I think he makes it. I think he finally shows his worth of taking 4th overall in that 2021 NFL draft. But yeah, man. So continuing to shout out the folks in the chat, man. Ramel Sports Report, RSR, man. Appreciate you joining the stream this evening. Says Atlanta will win the South. And yes, please stay tuned to the end of the show, man. We have a bold prediction where we'll give our wins and losses on that one. But let's get into this schedule, man. I'm going to go ahead and share the screen right now. We're going to bring up this Falcons 2024 schedule. And if y'all can see this, man, week 1 against the Pittsburgh Steelers, man, a very emotional matchup as Artie returns to town, man. So, and as we all know, this Pittsburgh team, they travel heavy. So I'm expecting a sold out Benz, man, a very active atmosphere week 1 at home. It's going to be lit, man. And then we round out, we go on the road to Philadelphia, man. That's going to be a tough game, man, on the road and hostile environment in Philly, the city of brotherly love, which is Cap, man. That fan base is unbelievably brutal, man. Kansas City comes to town week 3, man. And gentlemen, man, real quick, back-to-back primetime games, man. It's the first Monday night game since 2020. I think we played the Packers COVID year. And then the first Sunday night game since we played since we played in a Sunday night game, and that was against actually the Philadelphia Eagles on a Julio Jones fourth quarter walk off. But real quick, 2 back-to-back Monday night games. How you guys feeling about that so far, man? Are you guys excited that the Falcons are back on prime time?
Oh yeah, definitely excited, man. But hey, that's tough. That's tough to be on the biggest stage against those two opponents. So I mean, as a fan, it's exciting. It's like, yeah, I get to see my favorite team. The whole world's watching. But man, as someone that observes a game, I'm not gonna lie. That is a tough 2-game stretch, and for it to, for them to both be primetime games, wow, that's big.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's going to be definitely it's definitely going to be one of those games where we're going to learn a lot about this team early. We're going to learn a lot about the resiliency, their toughness, and if they're ready. Obviously, you would expect as a season progresses, the team will change, the team will improve, the team will be different by the time season end comes. And so this will be a good way to make sure these guys are focused going into camp, focused going through preseason, because out the gate, you're not going against a cupcake. You're not going against the Panthers like you did last year. You're going against the Pittsburgh Steelers, which we know they're one of the most physical defenses in the league, one of the best defenses in the league. And then you got Arthur Smith coaching that offense. And listen, at the end of the day, can't sit here and act like the Pittsburgh offense ain't going to do nothing, because they could. Arthur Smith did have some big yardage games last year when with us with Desmond Ridder at quarterback. He just had issues with scoring in the red zone. Hopefully they have those issues this year for Pittsburgh, but this is not going to be an easy 3-game stretch at all. I mean, because the thing is, you come out of Pittsburgh, you win that game, you might be a little beat up for beginning of the season. Then you got to go against Philly. Then you got to turn right around in a short week, get ready for Kansas City. So it's gonna be we're gonna learn a lot about them, but I think it's the challenge that is needed, and it'll be one of those games where I would not be shocked, especially like with the Eagles. The Eagles bounce back this year, even if you lose this game early. It's a good way to see where were we week 2, and if you happen to meet them again in the postseason, it's like, all right, well, this is a chance to show that we're better than that team that they played back in that time.
Yeah, definitely, man. I agree. We all saw, Philadelphia team that really imploded before the nation's eye last year. Was off to a hot start, and then it felt like Nick Sirianni kind of lost that team towards the end, man. Really wasn't on the receiving end of a lot of wins in that area. So it'll be interesting to see, how AJ Brown bounces back from having a very vocal offseason. The addition of Saquon Barkley as well makes that offense explosive, and Philly always known for his defense. So, like Brice mentioned, man, very, very physical game week 1 against Pittsburgh, an emotional game. Already returns to the Benz, man. And yeah, to go just a few days later to play the Eagles. We're going to learn a lot about this Atlanta Falcons team early, man. These 3 games are not gimme games at all. And then, the Super Bowl matchup against the the Super Bowl winning Kansas City Chiefs in a matchup on Sunday night, man. And Kansas City for me, man, last year they dropped the home opener to Detroit. This is a team that, traditionally just starts off slow before they truly find the identity, and that's what they rock with for the rest of the year. But I feel like we can catch Kansas City at a vulnerable time. With all things mentioned, man, they traditionally start off slow. So with everything that this Falcons team has added defensively and offensively, and seeing how battle tested we have to be early on, man, these 2 games right here might shape us to, play Kansas City, real tough, man. So I don't know. What do you guys feel? This Kansas City game, it's at home, it's at the Benz. I know the Falcons are going to, throw everything at them. It's again, it's against the reigning Super Bowl champions, but what do you guys feel? Do you think that's a game that the Falcons can shock the world and take one from Kansas City?
I mean, maybe. I mean, anything can happen with these primetime games, man. But and kind of like you said, you might be able to catch the Chiefs because everyone's going to try to play their best ball against the champs. So I mean, I haven't looked at their schedule, but I'm sure they're going to have a hard first 2 weeks. Real competitive first 2 weeks of the season. So I think the interesting thing, though, when I look at this game, when you show it, we play in Philly the week before. So we start off season in the crib. Like you said, it's going to be a tough game. They're going to run the ball. Arthur Smith's familiar with us. So that's going to be an interesting game, just in general. If we can win that game and we go into Philly, I don't think we match up well with them at all. But again, it's a good measuring stick game for us, and I think we could win. I do think it's possible to win. But again, the interesting thing is that we come back home for Kansas City. So the story is going to either be, the Falcons are undefeated at home. Okay, the Falcons are coming back to home after a tough loss against the Steelers, maybe a tough loss against Philly. So I just think when looking a little bit ahead, this is an interesting game because we're going to be coming back home, primetime football against the champs. I think we'll have a great idea that game for multiple reasons, what this team's about. I mean, again, for multiple reasons, you can see why this home game, I mean, it's already sold out. If I'm not mistaken, this game is already sold out. I don't know if you can go click on the buy tickets link now, but again, this is going to be such a huge game for so many reasons. So we can find a way to win this game. I feel real good about the Falcons' chances this season, man.
Yeah, I mean, I have to, add on to that. I mean, obviously when you play the Super Bowl champs, like you said, you're gonna give them their best shot. You understand that, this is a team, if the Falcons were able to have that type of season, that there is a decent chance that you could see this team again at the end of the season. And you always got to keep in mind what you see early is not what you're going to see late. This team will evolve. This team will improve. They're working in some new guys like the rookie Xavier Worthy. I know a lot of people were grabbing their heads like, what are we doing letting them get their hands on that type of receiver for that offense? We know what Andy Reid can do with his play calling. We know their defense has taken tremendous strides from the beginning of the Patrick Mahomes era and with the defense they've became. So this is a game where if you're the Falcons, you got to come out there and you got to be ready. This is a game where you want your coaching staff to have their best week, your players to have their best week of practice, and really just show that you're ready to go for the big time, and realistically, it's so early in the season, so there's no reason to make it a do or die situation. But it really is a game where you kind of look at and say, all right, well, this will tell us where we are, and then this will help us know what do we have to do if we want to get there? What do we have to do? Is there something that you were able to take advantage of in this game that maybe you can keep in mind? Is there something that you struggle with in this game that you have to, change? These are the things that you have to kind of reassess as you reassess your team as the season goes on, like any coach has to. So realistically for me, I think they have to come out there and just get ready to go. And like I said, this is also going to be a test for a lot of the guys that we have a lot of expectations in, like AJ Terrell, guys like Jesse Bates. I mean, you're going against probably one of the best offenses that you're going to see all year long, with what they have. And you're going to have to be ready for the different things they can throw at you. So, like I said, this can be one of the best learning experiences that the team has this year. But at the same time, this can also, like I said, be a good stick and a good idea of what they need to continue to improve, regardless if they win or lose. Because this is a game that you can take something from, regardless on either side of the outcome that you're on. And that can help you when you're going towards for the rest of the season.
That's a key point that you said, with the offenses, with the Philadelphia Eagles, I believe they lost their offensive coordinator. So that's going to be a new look offense, so to say. And Kansas City adding all the pieces as well. That's going to be, somewhat of a new look offense. And like you mentioned, it's not necessarily do or die, but it is important to come out with these morale building wins because, of course, you come home and you beat a team like Kansas City, and then you get into week 4 through week 6, which we play our division. The schedule makers really had it out for us early on, man, as they gave us NFC South opponents back to back to back. And we'll touch on this right now. But week 4, we played the New Orleans Saints, and we're at home for New Orleans. We're at home for Tampa Bay. Then we're on the road for Carolina. But week 4 against New Orleans, always a tough matchup. Of course, anytime we play a divisional foe, it's tough. Traditionally low scoring games. These teams know each other very well. But to play the New Orleans Saints so early on, how important is a victory and in this 3-week stretch that the Falcons have to, like, what do you guys see the Falcons needing to do in these 3 weeks here, back to back games against divisional opponents? Mark, I'll start with you.
I mean, the first 3 weeks are tough. The next 3 weeks are tough. I mean, that's a crazy 6-game stretch, man. When you add in the prime time, I think the biggest benefit, at least in the first 5 games, is I guess, is it the first 6?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not mistaken, 4 out of our first 5 games are home games. So
yeah,
that's the biggest benefit in this whole stretch is, all right, forget who we're playing. We got to just take care of business at home. I don't know what we have to do, but we have to find a way to at least split when we're just talking about home games. Now, if you ask me, you should never lose at home. I remember a time in the Georgia Dome where it felt like if we were at home, we could beat anybody. I think this is a good opportunity in these first 5 weeks, again, the first 4 home games, to show the world, hey, you're not about to be coming into Atlanta anymore and just beating us with, third-string quarterbacks. So, again, like, first 3 weeks is tough. These next 3 weeks is extremely tough. The Saints, I mean, we already know the Saints is always going to be tough, man. And to get that right after the Kansas City Chiefs, I mean, like you said, like the schedule makers, they say, okay, y'all had an easier schedule. Well, we're going to put it in the hardest order. Because, again, the first 5 weeks, even the Panthers, I mean, we lost to them last season. Because is that first game, is that in Atlanta or is that
that's our first road game, right? One of our first road game in the second part of the stretch here. So
again, that first 6 weeks is tough, y'all.
Yeah, it's very tough. Brice?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think a lot of schedule makers the last few years, and we'll get to that part of the schedule, kind of put the division in pockets of your schedule, kind of be like this part of the year you're going to be focused on your division, and obviously the Falcons will be focused on them early, but this is also a good way to set the tone. The Falcons were 3-3 division last year. I believe they split with every team in the division.
They did.
Should have probably, you could say, should be at least 5-1, right? It's going to be key for them to be able to start strong in the division and win those games. Because honestly, if you win 6, that's 6 games in your schedule. You win that, you got 6 wins.
Hell yeah!
Now you're 3 away from a winning record and potentially 1 or 2 away from a playoff berth. So these are the games that you really need to win more than anything. And like I said, the early part of the schedule, I think, with it being so tough, is going to have them focused going into these games. They know what Tampa Bay can do. We know in Carolina we can't take them, for slouches. And the Saints, you already know we're going to be juiced up for that game. That's just a rivalry game. We're going to want to beat them every time we go out there. And, those teams, they also understand how important it is when they play us. So we just got to go out there and play our game, do what we got to do. And we just got to find success, because once we find success, then we'll be in a good place. Especially because if we were able to get out of that NFC South stretch 3-0, you're already halfway there. You're already halfway to almost winning the division, because now you have the leg up in terms of tiebreakers and things of that nature. Because if you beat them, then you got it. So they can't, unless they have the same record as you, you still would win the division. And then you give yourself that extra leverage, which I think one thing that was big last year for the Falcons, they lost a lot of tiebreakers, which is one of the reasons why they didn't get into the postseason as well, because they just didn't have the tiebreakers needed to get there, because of some of the losses that we probably thought they shouldn't have lost, like the Tampa game, like the Minnesota game, even the Cardinals game. So those things that I think you got to take seriously at this point, and you got to get ready to go. But at least, like I said, 4 through 6, this is divisional play. We know how important this is. Raheem Morris can harp that message to the guys and let them know, man, this is a very important 3-game stretch. You think the first 3 games were important. This 3-game stretch is even more important.
It's even more important, man. This, of course, losing one of these division games could probably bite you in the ass, towards the end of the year when the games matter. But I don't want to sound biased, but I feel like the Falcons, depending on what we show the first 3 weeks and having that spill over into the next 3 weeks, which is weeks 4 through 6, we could probably flex our muscle on the division early, man, and take these wins, man. New Orleans is a wild card, right? New Orleans, always plays us tough, sure. But what do they really have going for them in this 2024 campaign? Problems are looming with Alvin Kamara still. You lose Michael Thomas. what are you known for? What are you going to be known for? So I think that team is going to struggle to find an identity early, still in that season, where the Falcons already have been cutting their teeth for the first 3 weeks, could probably find their identity early and ride that wave for the rest of the schedule. You look at Week 5 with Tampa Bay, but with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Sure, they re-upped with Hall of Fame wide receiver Mike Evans, and we saw a resurgence from Baker Mayfield, but they lose their most important part, which is Dave Canales, who is now the head coach for the Carolina Panthers. Are we going to see the same Baker Mayfield from last year? I'm going to go out on a limb and say no. I think Dave Canales really did a fantastic job hiding a lot of Baker Mayfield's flaws through that offense. Mike Evans is going to ball out. And then really, what can you say about the rest of that team? Really not too much. You know, it's going to be tough for Tampa Bay to show what style of team that they are, losing a head coach that was, he was taking yards by the bunch and, airing it out with Mayfield. Is this going to be the same Buccaneers team of last year? Are they going to, try and take from that blueprint that was on display last year? Who knows? And then with Carolina, Dave Canales is there. They lose, one of their most important parts on defense with Brian Burns. They didn't really have that great of a draft. They just added they just added pieces is the way that I like to say it. And I was a part of that first ever Bleacher Report mock draft with other counterparts of the NFC South, and Shayna Quick was quick to point that out. I'm like, wow, man, we didn't have that great of a draft per se. You know what I mean? We just added pieces, and there was some head scratching moves there. So I feel like we can catch our division in this 3-week span at a very, very vulnerable state. So, and Mark, you had mentioned, strength of schedule and stuff like that. The Falcons are ranked 31st in the league with a 453 a combined winning percentage, giving us, ranking our schedule this year 31st. By the first 6 weeks, it does not look like that at all, man. These are all teams that are going to be ready to go, but the Falcons definitely have to be a little bit more willing to go. So as we go on, Seattle Seahawks, and then we go we played the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right back, ending our season with Tampa Bay's rather early, just 3 weeks later. And then we played the Dallas Cowboys week 9. So with the Seattle Seahawks, man, a team that is now going to be known for their defense. Mike McDougal goes over from the Baltimore Ravens, and I want to say Seattle had a hell of a draft. Byron Murphy, where they got him, was probably going to be one of the steals in the first round, to add on to guys like Boye Mafe, Leonard Williams, Jerron Reed, the guy they got from Denver last year, the defensive tackle there. They have a solid core of defensive players in that front seven. I think that's going to be Seattle's calling this year. It's going to be probably no more as a defensive team, but traditionally a tough team to play. The 12s, they really, they flock. And they flock well, man. They travel well. They can overtake a stadium. So it's going to be real important, man, when we play these teams that, their crowds traditionally, are in full force, more so than the home crowd. So got to be there in full effect. As I mentioned, week 8, we go down to Raymond James Stadium, play Tampa Bay, and then the week 9 matchup against the Dallas Cowboys. That's going to be another tough one. But your thoughts right quick on week 7 through 9. I'll start with you, Brice. What do you feel? How do you feel the Falcons balancing out these 3 games?
I think this is again not easy stretching games.
Mhm.
I think I said the NFL did something interesting with us basically by week 10, I believe, being done with 2 divisional opponents actually. So that's going to be interesting to kind of get a lot of that taken out of the way early in the season. But realistically, I think obviously again, Burton 3-game stretch, Seattle, what are they with Geno Smith once again at quarterback? He's been up and down. He's been great, but he's also been down. We'll see how this changes the team, their philosophy with the new head coach, and what they end up being in a tough division already in the NFC West. Like I said, Tampa Bay, especially if you're able to get that first win. Getting that second one would be big if you could sweep Tampa Bay early in the season. Now we have the leverage, we have the advantage on this team. We just got to take care of business on our end. And obviously the Dallas Cowboy games, it's always going to be one of the most highly rated games of the season. I would not be surprised if that was a 1 o'clock America's game of the week game, just because, when the Cowboys and Falcons link up, man, it feels like always pops a big rating. So, and, we know what the Cowboys are going to bring to the table, Dak Prescott and them. We got to be ready for that. So I think, plus you always I feel like teams get up for the Cowboys. It's the Cowboys, so you're always gonna be like, all right, we get a chance to show out. We get a chance to prove that we really them boys instead of them. And, and going from there. So I think this is a solid, again, 3-game stretch for the Falcons to, try to get some wins here, take advantage. I think if you have a winning record outside of this, you're feeling pretty good about where you are in the season. And you feel like, all right, seems like we're making strides as a team as you continue to make that push. Because at this time, too, is when you start getting into that playoff push, especially after the Dallas game in November. You started like, all right, we're in the last two months. Obviously, you hope you're not having too many injuries at this time, and that you're able to continue to push forward, improve, and get better as a team.
Very solid perspective. Mark?
Yeah, I mean, again, another tough stretch. We got Seattle. That's going to be an interesting game, man. Geno, another year in Seattle. DK, Lockett. The offense is interesting. Kenneth Walker. It's funny that when I think the Seattle offense reminded me, the defense will really tell us exactly what we need to know, And if they're not good the first stretch of the season, games like Seattle, games like Tampa, games like Dallas are going to be extremely tough because, again, you don't want to get into shootouts with these games, with these teams. But, I mean, again, another tough stretch, man. I feel like, week 9, if we can come out of this stretch 5-4, I'm still feeling good about our season. Again, that's my floor. 5-4, we're over 500 after the Dallas game. However you got to get it done, I'm feeling pretty good so far. I don't know about y'all. Again, and that's just the floor. I will hope that we're 9-0.
But damn. Let's go.
Again, I will hope, and again, that goes back to my point. I think the one reason why when we look at the schedule, like, oh my God, it's tough, is because we just don't know about the defense. Like, we just don't know, especially all the quarterbacks we're playing. I don't think we played, Bryce Young is the worst quarterback so far, in the first 9 weeks. So if the defense is good, I think we're all expecting the offense to be solid. Even last year with Arthur Smith, Desmond Ridder, Taylor Heineke, we were still able to move the ball up and down the field. It was just about scoring, and, the bad turnovers, like Brice was saying earlier, we probably should have been 5-1 in the division. And if we're already playing, 4 division games in the first 9 weeks, if Brice said we could take care of business, at least if nothing else, these first 9 weeks, we have to be undefeated in the division. So we can even be 4-5 after week 9. But if we're 4-0 in the division, I still feel good. So I think that's my biggest takeaway, trying to be as unbiased as possible when I look at these first 9 weeks. 5-4, 4-5. If we could do anything better than that, we're doing good.
I can't be mad at that. I have some concerns, and the concerns as front loaded as this division, or as the schedule is at the moment. The pressures that 2 first-year signal callers are facing right off the rip: Zach Robinson as an offensive coordinator and Jimmy Lake as a defensive coordinator. I know that Jimmy Lake is going to have support. As he came with Coach Raheem Morris from the Rams, but not so much with Zach Robinson, as he doesn't have he has a connection with Coach Raheem, but you're talking offense and defense. Sure, Raheem knows a thing or two about offenses and stuff like that, but Zach really doesn't have another counterpart there to like lean on to be like, okay, let's dissect this a little bit better. Is he going to lean on a guy like TJ Yates? Probably not, because this guy's going into his first year as a quarterback coach after serving the past 2 years as a wide receiver coach, which okay, that doesn't make any sense. So my concerns are, and as far as the first year coordinators, and I want to sound as real as possible because it's a real thing. You know what I mean? We don't know how these guys are going to do in their first years, as signal callers. To be 5-4 or even 6-3, I'd be beside myself if we're at that point, man. I can, is it possible? Yes, but there's gonna be some things they're gonna challenge the Falcons early, man. And that week 3 matchup, can you go toe to toe with Kansas City and Mahomes and Andy Reid? Week 2, even can you keep up with a Nick Sirianni offense? Even week 9 with Dallas, who traditionally during the season are a very explosive offense. So can we keep up with teams like that? So yeah, we'll definitely we'll see. We'll see. But as Brice mentioned a few minutes ago, we end the season with New Orleans and Tampa Bay almost back to back, week 8 and week 10. So with week 10, of course, we go down to New Orleans. We travel up to Mile High Stadium with the Denver Broncos. And fellas, I think the last time we made a trip up to Denver was 2016, where the Falcons unleashed Tevin Coleman against the Broncos, and he went off that game. And then, of course, we have a week 12 bye. So this small stretch right here, very important to end it on a high note. No pun intended, to Mile High Stadium. Of course, with that week 12 game looming there. But what do you guys feel, right quick, with this week 10 and week 11 matchup? I'll go to Brice.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, play the Saints, you win that game.
Mhm.
If you beat them the first time, you're in the driver's seat, and that'll be big. And then obviously you have bragging rights. But yeah, bragging rights.
Facts.
Fans can't say nothing to you.
Right.
And you go out there and do what you got to do, man. So that'd obviously be great for Falcon fans to be able to sweep them for the first time in a while, since we have. And then going into the Denver game, Denver probably is not expected to be that good this year. I mean, if we're going against Bo Nix, I feel pretty good. I like to call it the Georgia curse, because he sucked against the Bulldogs. He sucked when he played in the state of Georgia. So I'm just going to assume he will continue to suck when he's in the state of Georgia. But outside of
there
that,
we go.
but outside of that, though, like, obviously you never want to take anybody lightly, though. You want to, obviously to go into every week and be like, all right, listen, they have NFL players on that team. We got to go out there and play our best. And then we also got to make sure we got to see how injuries are. Are we an injury riddled team going into that last game before the bye? Or are we good health wise? Things like that. You've been playing football by this point for about 2.5 months, starting with regular season, with no breaks outside of maybe the mini buys you get from playing on, like, if you play a Thursday night game, that mini buy. So obviously that will be big. Make sure that you're good from that perspective as well. And going into that, and obviously the bye week is a chance to relook at everything. Okay, what went wrong first few weeks? What happened? Where did we do good? Where can we build on? Should we make any personnel changes? Roster changes with the depth chart. Things of that nature. So it's a good place to kind of see where you are. Plus, by that point, too, your comeback in week 3, you'll probably know where you are in the playoff standings, and you know what you got to do to get the job done at the end of the day. So important 2-game stretch. Really important to get that Saints game. Really just at least especially if you lose the first one, at least get that second one. You at least want to do the 1-1. Don't want them to have them bragging rights on you, and just continue to go from there. And like I said, hopefully we'll be in good shape. And everything will work out. And like I said, anything that maybe they see that didn't work or they tried to do and didn't work, you'll be able to take that time and be able to fix that going, like I said, during that bye week as guys get rested up. Like I said, that's what I say. I prefer bye weeks at this point in the season, just because it's like you can kind of really, all right, we got this to this point. Now we see what's ahead of us. We can really reflect, and we can continue to grind, build, and then make that push when we come back in week 13.
Solid. I love it. What say you, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, again, you got to beat the Saints, man. You got to beat the Saints. I don't care how your season's going. I don't care who's on their roster, who's their coach. You got to beat the Saints. So that'll be an interesting game in New Orleans. What was the game before that? Was that Dallas?
Yeah.
So it's Dallas.
No. Dallas was week 9. The Saints was week 10.
Yeah. So you got Dallas at the crib. Then you go to New Orleans. Man, that's just such a big game for us. So you got to be locked in for that. And then Denver, I think ironically, this is when we get our breather. When we go to Mile High. So, and then you said 2016. Was that the game when Tevin Coleman wasn't even supposed to play?
That's right, because he has sickle cell anemia, and
And
that
then you end up having like a career day
yeah, yeah,
as a wide receiver.
yep.
But yeah. So again, yeah, I'm not scared of Bo at all. But this Falcons team, man, and until they show otherwise, you know, I'm not going to pick them. I'm not going to be heavily picking them on the road. I don't care who we're playing. It's just they have to show that their defense can travel before I buy into that. And then kind of like Bryce said, man, that week 12 bye, it's right on time. You know, we can really figure out, you know, who we are, what we need to do. But when I look at this, goes back to the division games, man. I think that's going to be the main theme of our 2024 season when we look back is how we had those 5 division games in the first 10 weeks. That's the part that scares me about the bye, because it's almost like it may be out of our hands, you know, by the bye week. We won't have any more division games to the last game of the season. Right. And then now we got to play teams like LA. You know, we got to play, you know, the teams coming up, and we had to really take care of business against teams we're not too familiar on. So again, when we go back to that first 10-week stretch, and we can just focus on the division, because I think that's the goal for this team this year. Win the division, man. Just win the division. In the first 10 weeks, if we could go, what y'all think? 3-2, 5-1, or 4-1. Do y'all think that's a win of the season? Forget the rest of the games. If we can go 4-1 in the first 10 weeks in our division, are we feeling good about this team no matter what?
I think so. It would be a drastic improvement, because now you're giving us more wins, same amount of wins that we could have had in some division games last year if we had better quarterback play. Now, fast forward to now, what we do, or we hope that we do, you know, one of those records are definitely, you know, achievable at 100%, man.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. I mean, we'll be in good shape, because, like I said, if the division ends up being weak again this year, obviously we don't want to be in the we're bad, but the rest of the division is bad. At least you have those advantages, those tiebreakers, you know, put you in a good position to be successful and still get into the postseason, where, like I said, anything can happen.
That's it, man. So with that, I got a quick question here from Tony Wright, man. He says, question to the panel, your thoughts on whether we should sign a veteran cornerback to help this team. I believe we should. And I think veteran Stephen Gilmore will fit with Jerry Gray's defensive scheme. Very interesting name. I am a Stephen Gilmore fan. And yeah, I will agree with Tony on this one. I think that you need a veteran back there. Sure, AJ Terrell stands as the vet right now, but he's a young pup still. You know what I mean? He's 24, 25 years of age. You talk about Stephen Gilmore, who's grinded his teeth in the NFL. He's a 10+ year vet. He's had success pretty much everywhere that he's been. So, you know, having a guy like that at Jerry Gray's disposal that can really bring or tie in the secondary that much more, I think will play major dividends going down the line. And if you notice the wide receivers the amount of wide receivers, the skilled wide receivers that we have to play, you know, not yet, we haven't talked about it, but Justin Jefferson's on the schedule. Of course, DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. We don't know what Xavier Worthy's going to bring, but I'm sure, you know, he's going to bring a level of explosiveness that the NFL hasn't seen in some time. George Pickens, of course, week 1. And, you know, Philly got a trio over there. So adding a corner would definitely play major dividends for this Falcons, man. And having two, you know, whether you want to say shutdown corners or not, or just two above average corners with these skilled receivers that we're set to face this year, I think I will feel a whole lot better than throwing a, you know, by NFL measures, an undersized corner in Clark Phillips. Although, you know, Coach Raheem Morris is high on the young man, but, you know, he's going to be tested early and tested often throughout the season. And the same could be said for D. Alford, depending on how the camp situation battles out. But your gentlemen's thoughts right quick on potentially a Stephen Gilmore signing here in Atlanta. I'll go with Mark.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds good. I mean, I'm not against it, but I think we need to put some respect on Clark Phillips' name, man. As a rookie, he was put into a couple. He was thrown into the fire a couple times last season, and obviously teams are going to attack him because of his size. Teams are going to attack him because he was a rookie, and teams are going to attack him because you don't want to attack AJ Terrell. And I feel like he responded well. I mean, so I think to bring that experience into year two, when you look at his career at where was he at, Utah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
This player is a dog, and if Raheem results to playing more zone, I think we have a great number 2 right here on our roster. And I think again, you're going against Drake London, you're going against Kyle Pitts in practice. These things are just making you better. So I just don't be wrong. I wanted to add more depth in the draft. I still think we should add more depth, but I think Clark Phillips is an outside corner. Do y'all buy into that hype, or am I being a little biased?
No, he showed the traits in Utah. He played on the outside. He, battle tested, and he's one of those corners that really where he didn't belong, he was at where, so he wasn't afraid to make the tough tackles. Of course, didn't make the business decision moves that a lot of these corners will take. He didn't shy away from the run game. He was very physical. He was sticky in coverage. So he did a lot of great things that, a lot of other teams wish that they would have picked up on. I'm glad the Falcons did. As we all know, the Falcons are notoriously great at picking late round gems, and Clark Phillips is shaving out to be one. So I mean, yeah, I buy into the hype, but we're talking, we're talking some elite of the elite wide receivers, and while Clark didn't get all the exposure last year, with a lot of great up and coming wide receivers, it's tough to throw him in to a season where, bro, he's got to man. He's got to put his big boy pants on, because this is a tough test, man. This is a tough task for this Falcons secondary this year, man. But Brice, if you want to add on, please.
Yeah, I mean, I believe in Clark too. I think things too. We also understand this league. You draft guys, you develop them, you have expectations for guys. I get that sometimes, especially in his situation, he may have not fully grasped everybody, and everybody's like, okay, yeah, we got a guy. But I think everybody feels like he has potential, and I feel like you got to give him an opportunity to do that. Could they add a veteran? Sure. And like I said, I tell people all the time, some teams usually like to do this. They like to go with their young guys, some of the guys they really think are competitive, and let them battle it out in camp. Let them battle it out in mini camps. See how they do. If they end up struggling, you'll always have these veteran corners are going to be around then. And then don't forget, even if people get cut even before the season, they'll be there. So you're going to always have the ability to add to the position. I know people want to see us add as quickly as possible, but some teams are going to wait, be patient, let the young guys show what they can do. Then when they see what they've done, and when we see what they've done, depending if you're at training camp or you're watching the preseason games, you'll be able to know for yourself, okay, I feel pretty good. I mean, the biggest thing you're really worried about more than anything is maybe death.
Yeah.
Clark goes down, so we're out Mike Hughes, and then who else? Kevin King. You start asking those questions, and then it's like, all right, that's not the best. But outside of that, I mean, you're feeling like you're pretty decent. Like you said, it's gonna be a tough matchup. But like I said, it's gonna be a tough matchup for the entire secondary. When you're going against guys like Justin Jefferson and those people, it's not just gonna be on AJ, it's gonna be on Jesse, it's gonna be on whoever the other safety is. It's gonna be on a lot of people to be able to make sure they can game plan and do what they need to do correctly, because you game plan for those types of players. So if they can execute the game plan and do what they can, you'll be in a good place. Like I said, sometimes you just got to give it to him and say, listen, he's just great. It's the same thing when we had Julio. Some teams play Julio. Yeah. Like, I mean, we did what we could. I mean, we ain't good because he's that. So,
right.
It's definitely something that we got to look at. And I'm sure Raheem will keep a close eye on it and still monitor it as the offseason continues.
Yeah, and to add on to that, and we'll move on, Clark has made an impression early on Coach Ra. If we listen to the presser a few days ago, he mentioned elite movement when talking about Clark Phillips. So there is a overwhelming trust in Clark Phillips and his ability. I'm a firm believer that he will be CB number 2. once the season starts. If they decide to add a player like Stephen Gilmore or even a Xavier Howard who's out there still, or any other vet, it's probably going to just be for depth purposes just in case, right? So, yeah, man. But as mentioned, this entire secondary is going to be tested this year. And as we move on, after the Week 12 bye, we see the Los Angeles Chargers at home, and the very emotional matchup as Kirk Cousins returns to US Bank Stadium in Minnesota, and then that Monday night game, our last primetime game of the year against the Las Vegas Raiders. But real quick, Chargers play them again. Last time the Chargers were here was 2022, so 2 years ago. That's the infamous fumble game by Taquan Graham that had folks calling for him as soon as the game was over. But this is going to be a new look Chargers team, as they've been gutted at the wide receiver spot. No longer there is Keenan Allen. No longer there is Mike Williams. Also, Austin Eckler is not there anymore, but they've added some quality pieces through the draft, more notably Joe Alt, a generational left tackle by the NFL Perspective's eyes. But this Chargers team, also with the new head coach, the other Harbaugh, makes his return to the NFL. And so he's going to have this team fighting. He's going to have this team ready to go. So real quick, thoughts on the Chargers game. I'll start with you, Brice. What do you feel about this matchup at the Benz with the Chargers in Week 13?
Obviously, it's going to be a tough game. Harbaugh's bringing a different identity to the Chargers. Physical. They're going to be a physical football team. That's why they drafted Joe Alt, even though people were questioning and saying, well, where's your receivers? I believe they ended up drafting Lab McConkey, I believe, later. So obviously he'll be making his return to Georgia. Obviously, hopefully he won't abuse our corners and defensive backs like he was abusing the SEC by this point. We'll know what that is by this point. But for us especially, this is a game where you probably would say Falcons win, but you don't know what the Chargers are going to be. Justin Herbert's there. You know what type of quarterback he is. Harbaugh's a really good head coach. You just don't know what the Chargers are going to be as a whole team. They were able to keep their pass rushers. That was something that was a big storyline for them. That people thought they were going to cut their pass rushers because of the money and the salary cap, but they were able to keep them. And so, it'll be an interesting matchup for sure to see what we can do against them. And obviously, we want to be able to, win. Since, especially the way the last game ended. Obviously, it was a few years ago, but a game that, you really want to win, especially since this is coming out of the bye week. You always want to definitely win your games come out of the bye week because you get that extra week to prepare, extra week to get ready, and you'll know what kind of team that you're going against, and you'll be able to prepare for Justin Herbert in that offense and then get ready for that defense. So I think that's the biggest thing for the Falcons that they have to continue to do is continue to, just believe in whatever Raheem is, the message is, whatever he's trying to preach. Obviously, he coming from, the Rams, he's familiar with the West Coast teams. He's familiar with the West Coast in general. So, he understands, what it's going to take. Obviously, being in LA, sharing, being in LA with the Chargers when he was with the Rams. So, they know what they got to do out there, and they just got to go out there and do it.
Very good. Mark?
Yeah, that's definitely going to be interesting with Jim Harbaugh, man. He doesn't get cute, man. He coaches to win games, man. Even if you got to run the same play 5 times in a row, he just coaches to win games. So I think this will be an interesting game for the Falcons. I do think one of the benefits, I just double-checked, the Chargers, they play the Baltimore Ravens Monday night before they play us. So we'll benefit from having the bye week. We'll benefit from being at home. Hopefully, the Ravens beat up on the Chargers and, they can give us the blueprint of how to beat this team. But again, I have a lot of respect for Jim Harbaugh coach teams and how he just builds teams. So I really like that we have this type of game. And I like that Raheem Morris, when you really look at the schedule, Raheem Morris has a lot of good opportunities to show that he was the right guy.
Absolutely.
Especially, again, when you talk about these young, inexperienced coordinators. So, again, Chargers, that's going to be a fun game. And then for Kirk Cousins to go back to the crib, man. Wow. Another great matchup in and just a fun storyline game, right? Like I think the whole world's gonna be watching. I know Brice mentioned the Dallas 1:00 game is gonna be America's game of the week. I think this is gonna be America's game of the week too.
Fox.
Just everyone, that storyline, especially if Kirk's playing good, if Kirk's playing at the MVP level, they might even find a way to flex it to 4:15. Again, that's a big game because Kevin O'Connell last season, man, there was a stretch when he had 3 different starting quarterbacks and they went 3-0. So you can't sleep on this team just because they lost Kirk, just because they lost Hunter. They went in the draft, they replaced both of them. And again, we're going to be playing in Minnesota. We all know their fan base is lit. Again, that's a nice little 2-piece after the bye week. Like, again, the Falcons, if we have a good team, we're going to be ready for the playoffs because this schedule, the way they're piecing it together, man. Again, Raheem Morris has an opportunity to learn a lot with, in the first 14 weeks.
Very solid. I'll go back right quick to the Week 13 matchup. Yeah, Harbaugh makes his return, so he owes us one, man. 2012, he was a part of that San Francisco 49er ball club that robbed us from going to the Super Bowl that year. So, yeah, Harbaugh, you owe us one, man. You definitely owe us one, man. So we got to get revenge. That's a low-key organizational revenge game for the Falcons, man. Get the best out of Harbaugh in that one, man.
Especially too, because,
go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna mention, especially too, because the Falcons were trying to. Well, we interviewed Harbaugh. Who knows? He's probably just using us, to
of course.
Get more money. But yeah, I think again that Week 13, man, really that 2-piece. I like it, man. I like it.
And we also get to exercise the CBS demons. Remember, Falcons struggled in CBS last year, so this is the only CBS game we got right now.
So
exercise the CBS demons.
Great point. That's true, man. That's true. And then of course, yes, Week 14. That should have been a primetime game.
Yeah, definitely. I would have took that one over the Raiders. Give me a Monday night, a Sunday night with Minnesota.
You know it's not Las Vegas, so they can't do that.
Yeah, that's right. That's true.
People gambling on that game,
man.
Big time, man. And so that week is going to be an emotional matchup right there for obviously for Kirk Cousins and for obvious reasons. That was his former team. I'm sure that Kirk, being the pro that he is, doesn't circle any games on his calendar, but who knows? He might have changed up on this one, and said, "Okay, you guys are gonna let me go. All right, I'm gonna make sure that I'm gonna make you pay the next time we play." And it comes in the form of a Week 14 matchup. Brings us to our stretch of the schedule. Week 15. Of course, the last primetime game that these Falcons have in 2024, giving us 4 primetime games this year. This one, the Las Vegas Raiders, an exciting up-and-coming team, a defensive-ridden team as, Christian Wilkins makes his way from Miami to Las Vegas to add to the Max Crosbys of the world over there. So that's probably going to be a tough matchup. On the road of obviously Lions Stadium. Atmosphere is probably going to be lit. So, yeah, man. And again, under the bright lights, we'll see what kind of Falcons team we have, and hopefully show the schedule makers for the year after that we can get some more primetime games if we take care of business earlier on in the year. And then Week 16 at the Benz against the New York Giants. So these 2 games here, gentlemen, how you guys feeling about this little stretch here with these 2 games? 6 days apart, might I add, so it was a short week.
Yeah, that's gonna be an interesting 2-game stretch. I mean, Raiders, we don't really know what the Raiders are gonna be. We don't know. I mean, they showed some good signs under Antonio Pierce last year. They're gonna definitely be a more physical football team for sure. But we don't know. This could be a team that's fighting for the playoffs just like us. And so we're going into this like, hey, we got to get ready to go. But this also could be a game where maybe this isn't the season they expected. And so, but we don't need to take them lightly because, again, you are under the bright lights. You are in Las Vegas. All right, Raheem need to make sure tight curfews, guys. Tight curfews. Don't be out too late. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Las Vegas, man, they be having
Yeah,
people out
man.
there.
A lot
So
of temptation out there.
gotta make sure you good, and then you just gotta stay focused. And in New York, I mean, if the Giants end up being a bad team, I mean, which a lot of people still expect them to be, it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Daniel Jones, hopefully, at least we're at home, so they don't have to wear those uniforms they unveiled yesterday. Play them, but
Basura. Garbage.
but realistically, Giants have some talent on that team. There's a couple of guys I still respect on that team for sure. Like I said, one of my guys out there, Wan'Dale Robinson, doing his thing. Really solid guy from Kentucky. But overall, it's a game we should win. Overall, it's a game we should be able to get out of this with a victory and just do what we got to do so we can, especially by this stretch, we're either wrapping up the division, wrapping up a wild card, or fighting for a top seed. That's what we should be right now. So these games are going to be huge, and we're going to have something to play for by this time.
Ooh, boy, oh boy. And you know what? Another thing too, Brian Daboll is facing a lot of pressure this year as well. This is going to be definitely make or break. And wherever this Giants team is, man, we could be either facing Daboll or an interim head coach by this point also. So who knows, right? Who knows? But real quick, couple folks in the chat. Let's see. My brother Chris Tip Moore from A1 Forever Sports is in the building. Jack from One Time for the Fan, man. And absolutely, man, let me plug this in right quick. This Vegas game, a lot of Falcon fans are circling on their personal calendars as a game they want to roll deep in. I'm one of those. And if you want to be a part of that experience as well, highly suggest you go and register for the Rise Up Tour. You can find that on Facebook as said. The Rise Up Tour, or you can hit up Jack Spade at One Time for the Fan, and he could definitely, guide you in the correct direction to where to go ahead and get your credentials to become a member of the Rise Up Tour. But going further, as we're going into the last bit of this NFL season, the Washington Commanders, another game that, it's give or take, right? Dan Quinn, the slogan master, gets another opportunity to be a head coach after showing some stellar coaching with the Dallas Cowboys as a defensive coordinator, gets another opportunity with the Washington Commanders. And then we finish off the years with the Carolina Panthers. I will chime in a little bit deeper into this Week 18 matchup with the Carolina Panthers, but I'll open up to you guys and see where your thought process is for these last two games.
Yeah, it's almost like we, well, again, like you said, the storyline with Dan Quinn, Jaden Daniels, that's just an exciting game, and I think he's probably a year away from having his team really competing. So to me, kind of to Brice's point with the Giants, this is one of those games you want to hope that you maybe don't look ahead as a head coach, but you say, hey, y'all, by the time we get to Week 17, we should be beating up on boys and resting guys, or just proving that we are a playoff team and building momentum. And I think, man, that was one blessing we got from the schedule makers. It was giving us the Commanders at the end of their season, man. So, again, I'm excited about that game. We should be able to beat up on them. And then Carolina, finish the season off with the crib. I mean, it just feels like we had like 12 home games. Again, I'm just excited to take care of business. When you look at these last 2 weeks, maybe even going into Week 16 with the Giants, man, we can just take care of business. That's 3 wins. We already talked about the division. We already think we can be at least 4 or 5 game winners in the division. So that's already 7 games I'm looking at where I'm feeling really good. We just have a better roster. And I feel like we should be able to – I mean, even the Raiders, with their quarterback situation, by this time of the season, we should be rolling over teams. If Kirk Cousins and this defense, they execute, we should be we can easily go in the season. We can end the last, quarter of the season 4-0, in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, this definitely could be where that point is. I was gonna make a joke. I know this will make Falcons fans in a frenzy, man. Week 17 division wrapped up. Do we see Penix versus Daniels week 17?
Talk about it, Bryce, because I was going there. Talk about it. Hold on. This is the disclaimer. This is not to start a quarterback controversy in Atlanta. Bryce, please.
Yeah.
Talk to the folks.
When we talk about this, we're in a good spot. Now, obviously, I'm sure they'll probably do like maybe a half a curve. You don't want the guys to get out too much out of rest, especially if we end up if we happily got the number 1 seed. Definitely want to make sure you play your guys. Don't want to give them too much time off. But you never know. Maybe you see him touch the field in some capacity. But like overall, yeah. I mean, Commanders, especially we go to Commanders. Falcons fans, all of us believe we should probably win the last 2 matchups, and we did not. And we need to go ahead, get the Commanders. We need to go ahead, beat them, get over the hump, get it out the way. Dan Quinn, we'll go ahead and win our game against you. Obviously, I root for Jade Daniels. Won't root for him that week. And we just gotta go out there and do it. We're going to be in Washington D.C., so we gotta be out there doing our thing. This will be right after the election too. So, boy,
will it be even safe to be in that area around that time?
Man, we'll have to see, man. We'll have to see. But yeah, so a lot of stuff can happen in the last 2 weeks, but it could be a very important 2 weeks as well. Good opportunity for guys to, like I said, get themselves ready to go for the postseason. Hopefully is the plan, and get some guys some rest, and then they get ready for, like I said, postseason play. Panthers, obviously, the divisional game, they're always looking to play spoilers, so they're always going to play hard. Just trying to get a spoil. Can we affect your seeding? Can we drop you down? Is there like it's divisional game. They're like, how can we impact your season negatively?
Right, they're gonna be throwing it all out there, man. Playing spoilers, trying to play spoilers.
Bryce Young gonna start looking like an elite quarterback the last couple of weeks of the season. So we gotta get ready for it. We gotta get ready for anything that can come our way.
Yeah, bro. So I was part of Wednesday's schedule release on Bleacher Report, which is available still on the Bleacher Report app via the Atlanta Falcons community tab. I hosted the schedule reveal, and when I got down to these last 2 games, I was on 10. I was on when I was like, yo, I'm 10 toes down on this. What I'm about to say. I said, I can see in a perfect scenario, week 18, the Michael Penix sighting of the first Michael Penix sighting of the year. Bro, everybody in the comment was like, man, you bugging. Mark, you was in there, but I think you had probably bounced out. But I had folks coming at me in the comments like, God, what are you talking about? You're bugging. Why won't they let Kirk Cousins just finish out the year, blah, 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 whatever. I'm like, but you got to think about it. If the division's wrapped up, if we have a solid record thus far or until that point underneath us, and we can afford to rest some of these vets, some of these skilled players, why not put Michael Penix in just to give him some in-game action and actually get a glimpse of, why he was worth the 8th overall pick in this year's draft? So it would be perfect. Why not? Some folks may have said, oh, they don't see Penix starting until 2025. Yeah, but at what point do you start him in if you're coming off a successful season where, you could have with any one of these last 2 games would allow you that. You don't want to go into 2025 because you're going to be riding off this 2024 wave, man, of success. So definitely, if, like Brice mentioned, if we have everything like shored up, then hell, why not? Week 17, sure, why not? Give them a half of that game and let them go a full 4 in against Carolina, as long as it doesn't impact the seedings or anything like that, because the Falcons hopefully have things wrapped up. Why not? I'm all for that. I am all for it, man.
You may be on to something, though. I mean, obviously, this is a unique situation. We've never seen a team sign a 4-time Pro Bowler and then draft the quarterback top 10 ever in NFL history. Maybe there's opportunities throughout the whole season where we see Penix for the last series of the game. Like, why not? Why not?
It's like, why?
If we blow some things out, we can see him getting some reps.
If it's a blowout going this way or that way, why not? I mean, why not? I mean, I think it has nothing to do about his job security, but I think that's an interesting narrative, and I think we're going to probably feel that when we get into the season. But I think there's gonna be opportunities where who knows. Let's see what's one of maybe the first. Oh, I was gonna say the first Panthers game, but that's in Carolina. But I think early in the season, there's gonna be a point in one of those first 5 or 6 games where the Falcons are either winning by a lot or losing by a lot. And I think the narrative is gonna be, why not put the guy in? Why not? So that's interesting. And it would be so ironic, right, if he does get a chance to play against Washington. You know, he just came from Washington. Obviously, we're talking about the West Coast. We're talking about the state. But, I mean, you know, again, that's a perfect little storyline. So Brice might be onto something, man. Week 17.
Hey, man, you never know, man. Michael Penix, do-rag. Get him to do-rag.
I love
it. Shit going, you know what I'm saying?
Stop his
red do-rag going.
Yes, I love it, man. I love it. So, man, we're almost coming to the part of the show that we're concluding. We gave you the schedule reveal. Real quick, we'll give our biggest takeaways from the schedule. I'll throw my 2 bits right here, real quick. You know, the amount of primetime games that we have, and how they say the strength of schedule was in favor of the Atlanta Falcons, but telling from the first 6 weeks, you can't sell me that, man. It's a tough 6-week stretch for the Falcons to start off their 2024 campaign. So that's one takeaway that I saw from that. And of course, the primetime games, the Falcons back on primetime, which is good. You know, I think that no team should be really left out, whether they're playing good or bad. I think that all franchises need that, you know what I mean, to kind of give them some hope for the year after. What can we do better once we're playing in these primetime games under the big lights. It's a learning experience for every team is what I'm trying to say. So I think it's fair for everybody to get at least a primetime game. I'll go on a limb. I'm sorry, I don't view Thursday night games really as a primetime game. I think that's just a throw-up game, just to have something to say. To me, I think the NFL said this: what the hell is out there on a Thursday night that we could just grab every ratings that it's out there for TV to be had and just stick a game on there? That's just the way I feel about it. But you guys, right quick, your biggest takeaways from this from this Falcons schedule?
Yeah, definitely a tough schedule. But man, it reminds me of 2016 schedule, man. Like, if we can get through it, bro. If we can get through it, like we all agree, we can win Washington in the season, beating up on Washington, beating up on the Panthers. Man, I feel like we have been so battle tested. If we can make it out of this schedule alive and standing, man, especially if we can get a home playoff game. Would this be the first one ever in the Benz?
Oh, 100%. Mm-hmm.
I like our chances, man. If we can get out of this schedule, we can get to the bye. That's week 12. We can be 500 going into the bye. I definitely like our chances after the bye. I feel real good about this team, man. I feel real good.
Brice?
Yeah. Like I said, big takeaways, primetime games, chance to show the world what the Atlanta Falcons are, especially, I believe, two of them are home games, primetime home games, I think. Well, actually, no, I think only one, maybe.
We got the Chiefs for sure.
Yeah, we got the Chiefs and
Chiefs.
Hold on.
I think we're at Vegas, we're at Philadelphia, and we're
the Tampa Bay game again on Thursday night is that's a home.
Okay, so we have 2 home primetime games, chance for fans to come out, support, show the world what type of crowd we got, show the type of team we got, and just go out there and play up to the level and expectation they expect to be at this year. So really excited. I think the schedule gives us a great opportunity to really hush a lot of people up if we end up having a lot of success. I think it's going to quiet a lot of haters. It's just also big for Kirk Cousins. He has that stigma not being good in primetime. So if he's able to, like a 3-1 primetime record, play well in primetime, he can kill some stigma. Like this season is big for Kirk, just to kill some stigmas that are around him as a quarterback. And, just for all of us, as a franchise to finally get back into that winning mode, winning playoff games, and really just contributing. And I think the schedule sets up really well for us to be able to do that.
Very good, very good. And this is the portion where I ask the chat, please, man, go ahead and drop your bold predictions as to what this record will look like by year's end for our Atlanta Falcons, man. But Bryce, I'm gonna go right back to you, man. Your win and loss record, premature talk, but let's have fun with it. What do you think this Falcons 2024 campaign is gonna look like in the wins and loss department?
Um, I'll go 11-6. 11-6,
I
like
like it.
11 win season should get you in the postseason. Should probably win NFC South as well.
Mhm.
Probably be like 2-3 maybe seed, depending on how tough conference divisions are this year. 2-3 seed in the NFC. Could be 12-5. Maybe one game swings your way. But I think that's what I'm looking like at this year. I think Kirk Cousins stole us for 4,500, 30 plus. I think that one of our pass catchers will have 10 plus touchdowns on the year. That's a bold prediction. And I also think that Falcons defense will once again be top 12 in the league.
Wow.
I like it. Hell yeah. Mark, you got to talk that one, Mark. What you got?
Hey, I mean, I just see us, man. I see us winning what? I see us winning 5 division games, man. I think we'll end up going 5-1. So that gives us 5 games. I feel confident about us winning, 4 of the remaining games after the bye week. So what it puts us at about 9 games. And, I think in the first 3 weeks, I think we'll probably I think we'll beat one of the teams we don't think we're going to beat on prime time. We're either going to beat the Eagles or we're going to beat the Chiefs. So I'm feeling good with 10 wins. I like the sound of 11-6, though. I like the sound of 10 touchdowns from Drake London. Hey, why not 10 touchdowns from Kyle Pitts, too? I mean,
and then do that, man. People
but it's funny, though. I think when we look at the schedule, at least in my opinion, because I'm making my prediction now. I didn't put too much thought into it, really. I think the guy I'm forgetting about is Bijan Robinson, man. Like, he could, we're thinking about Kirk and this, that, and the third, but I do think he is that talented to where he can put us in positions to win every game. And if he lives up to the hype, he makes everybody else better, makes Kirk better, makes Kyle, Drake. I think with knowing that and knowing how important it is to run the ball in the NFL, we may just be a lock for a good 12 wins. We may be able to go 6-0 in the division. Again, that's just off the strength of Bijan Robinson. So, because again, I just feel like when I went through that I'm thinking about the other team's quarterback and our defense, Jesse Beck. I never really put too much thought into how good Bijan truly is and how Arthur Smith kind of held him back a little bit.
A lot.
And we saw how successful. What's the running back for the Rams? Last year had a big season.
Curtin Williams.
Hey, he was a big reason why the Rams were still relevant. To me, he helped a guy like Puka look good. He's helping a guy like Matthew Stafford, and I think we have a better version of that here in Atlanta. Again, I was at 10 wins, but I might be with Brice. I think 11. I would bet that we're going to get at least 11 wins this season.
Mark, you know what Bleacher Report said? The over and under. Well, the wins loss prediction for the Falcons was going to be.
What they said 9 wins, right?
9 wins. I think we shot. I don't think we're a 9-win team. So I'll give you some bold predictions, right? I think Kyle Pitts shows us worth, and I think he nabs and TDs. I think Drake is going to be good for at least 8, right? But I think the wild card, and you brought this gentleman up, is Bijan Robinson, right? So I think that the Falcons, in order to maximize Bijan Robinson's full potential, you hired the right offensive coordinator, because I think Zach Robinson's going to do fantastic things with really, just unveiling to the world who Bijan Robinson is. But where's he going to get that from? He's going to look back at how Steve Sarkisian used him in Texas, which was in a variety of ways, splitting him out wide, which Arthur tried to in a couple times, is just Unfortunately, his route concepts and how he drew these damn plays up just didn't make any freaking sense at all. And of course, bad quarterback play. But we no more bad quarterback talk because it's been rectified with Kirk Cousins here. I think he goes back to the college rank and really studies how Texas utilized Bijan. It was out of the backfield. It was lined up in the slot. It was handoff. The extended handoffs, ways where Bijan was effective with a lot of space in front of him. Because what is Bijan? Bijan is dangerous in space. He's a guy that can make you miss a tackle with in a blink of an eye. We've seen him break ankles so many times last year. So he's going to be the wild card, I feel, in this offense to really catapult everybody else in their trajectory to succession with Pitts and Drake London. So I think it's not. It's easy to say this. I think Bijan does get at least 10 plus touchdowns this year for the Falcons in the rushing department and receiving department combined. I think he becomes that X factor for the Falcons and puts, the NFL world on notice. Like, all right, I am the new do it all back. I am this, modern generation's version of a Marshall Faulk as much as he was compared to him. I'm going to go with 12 wins. I really feel like the Falcons, are going to take advantage of I hate to say weak, but some of the more favorable matchups. I really think that the Giants is a favorable matchup. The Washington game is a favorable matchup. These are teams that have struggled last year, which they're gonna trickle into this year, finding a true identity. I feel like Malik Neighbors was probably a reach for the Giants at that spot, but you can see why they went there because the necessity for a wide receiver was there. Jaden Daniels, of course, with Washington. You see that after they shipped, Sam Howell off to Seattle, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But so these are going to be teams that are going to be struggling to probably find success in identity all year long. Those are gimme games. The Raiders, under the bright lights, I get it. I think that's a team. While everything around them is pretty solid, they're in the situation as who's going to be the quarterback, right? So now they're going through that notion that the Falcons were in last year. Is it going to be Heineke or is it going to be Ritter? And we all saw how that worked out, right? So and then you have other matchups. Sure, the Chargers is going to be a tough game. It's going to be a tough matchup. Harbaugh is that style of head coach that he's going to run the ball down your throat and he's going to try and impose your will. But how are these playmakers really going to affect Justin Herbert going forward, right? You lose a lot with Austin Eckler. That's your all-purpose everything. He was everything for you on offense pretty much last year. That team, you can maybe argue say that the Chargers went as far as Austin Eckler went, right? Because you couldn't rely on Keenan Allen, who was hurt for the majority of the year last year. He's no longer there. He's now with the Chicago Bears. And then you look on earlier in the year, you have games where you can sweep the division. I'll go 1-1 as in 1-1 with the Saints because the Saints always find a way to give us problems, right? And with Tampa Bay, I think once we expose them or once we get ahead, I think in this year's matchup, I think they're going to struggle to try and keep up. I really am a firm believer that them losing Dave Canales is really going to affect that season for them entirely. Really, I give him all the credit for Baker Mayfield's resurgence, and I'll leave it at that. I think Baker turns back to a pumpkin, and Tampa Bay is at the end of the year, saying, "Damn, why did we give this guy $100 million?" You know what I mean? He's not that guy. My bold take on that. So for sure for the Falcons.
That's bold because
Yeah,
I feel like I would agree with that before the playoffs. I think I understand he's losing the offensive coordinator, but we saw a different Tampa Bay, and we saw a different, and maybe the Eagles just suck, right? Maybe they just fell off the map completely. But man, we saw a different Tampa team, man, in the playoffs.
I'm gonna say this, and I don't mean to cut you off. I think we saw Tampa Bay do exactly what you need to do, right? When you see a team that's railing or falling behind, be the aggressor, right? And really put your foot on their throat and really just take the last breath out of them. Philly just kind of did themselves in the media's eyes with all the problems behind the scenes you had, and an outspoken AJ Brown. You had Nick Sirianni possibly being fired, late in the year or go, into this offseason. You think about those things. A lot of people say, "Oh, we don't listen to outside no's." That's cap. They listen to it. They know what's going on.
Yeah, man,
They're
that man Berto says Baker Mayfield going back to what we used to call him, Stanker Mayfield.
yes, thank you. Hell yeah, man. So yeah, man, that's a fact, bro. I just don't see him doing anything.
Then, all right. So if you think Baker's going back, do you think that Brice is coming up? Because
Hell no.
Because
with the improved weapons back in Dallas,
he's getting Baker Mayfield's offensive coordinator. So I mean,
look,
when I look at the division, I'm like, this is an interesting. This is an interesting division.
Yeah,
but the Tampa Bay Bucks is definitely the one team I'm not going to take lightly. If there's going to be a team,
and Derek Carr still sucks. So
facts. Car Park still sucks. I ain't worried about him. But before I get into this situation with Brice Young, man, shout out Steve of the Check Down Podcast. Make sure you guys go and show Steve of the Check Down Podcast some love via YouTube. Another great Falcons content creator. He had a video he put out, man, not too long ago. Fantastic commentary on it, very insightful. So shout out to Steve. Thanks for joining the stream tonight. But with Brice Young, man, listen, you can't. I'm sorry, man. I don't mean to sound harsh. He's
the number one pick.
I don't give a damn what he was, bro. He was the wrong number one pick. I'm telling you, man. Carolina's probably thinking, damn, we should have took CJ Stroud.
Right.
Yeah, we should have took CJ Stroud. But here's the thing that I'm big on, right? I'm big on history, on a program's history, right? We can't sit here and say Alabama is notoriously known for trotting out, generational talents at quarterback positions. In fact, if you want to look in depth, right, to any of the success that Alabama has ever had of a quarterback being at the professional level, you got to go back to the 60s. Joe Namath was probably the last quarterback that had pull, and you saw what he did for the Jets. He guaranteed a damn win, and by God, he got it, right? But Brice, go ahead, Brice.
I was about to say no love for Tua, no love for Jalen Hurts.
Right.
Oh, man, listen, but Jalen Hurts, he transferred to Oklahoma. So can you really count the Alabama stint as
there for like 3 years?
Right.
Oh man!
And then Tua won the job from him. So I mean,
okay. Can we say the verdict is still out on Tua though?
I mean, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I'm just. Now, if this was I was gonna say this was like pre-NIL era, but I think Jalen Hurts was there before NIL started. I think
he was.
So I can't say that, but I think realistically, I mean, you've had more success at quarterback if you've been Alabama in the league. Now they still haven't had any generational or elite quarterback success or anything like that. I think we all can agree on that. We still wonder, is he too small? His brother was there. He transferred to Maryland. Now he's undrafted. We got. I mean, Jalen is the only guy who really had that success. Almost won a Super Bowl. So I mean, if he did, maybe could change the perception. I don't know. People. I know this is NFL, but some people think Jalen Milroe about to have a ascension.
But hey, listen. In that young man's defense, man, what he was able to do in within a calendar year to the quarterback he was in August to what he shaped out to be in October, 180. And there's nobody probably more qualified to talk about an Alabama quarterback than my guy's right here from Out of Your Falcon Mind. John, if this is you, buddy, what's happening? Out of Your Falcon Mind, another fantastic Falcons platform where you can catch their exclusive content on YouTube. Out of Your Falcon Mind, man. He is a known Alabama enthusiast, and he knows a thing or two. And I'm sure that he has a lot to say about Jalen Milroe coming into this year's season. But Yes, fellas, this has been unbelievable. And Carrie sums it up. The show is ending on the hot take segments.
All
Love
right.
it.
Right.
Anything else you guys want to put out there before we do end the show? We're going on an hour and a half, and man, I can't thank you guys enough for taking so much time out of your Friday night. You could have been doing anything else, but I appreciate that you guys are here rocking with me, and for the viewers as well. We took so much of your Friday evening, but we are definitely grateful for that. But Brice, Mark, anything else you guys want to add before we conclude the show?
Hey man, definitely appreciate you again having me. This is a
course.
fun way to spend my Friday night.
There we go.
But super excited about the season. Super excited about Atlanta sports, man. Super excited, man. So, with the Hawks getting the #1 pick, it kind of it pushed me, man, and it inspired me to go on and get my YouTube channel up. You've obviously been a huge inspiration. I'll follow Brice, here shortly. But again, the quality, the way you're able to, articulate yourself has been an inspiration from out of your Falcon mind. Just watch their show for the first time yesterday. They're also, a reason why I thought it was only why I started my channel. So I'm going to be, I'm going to drop my YouTube channel in the chat. Just started it up this week, man. And just trying to build up on the momentum with the Hawks, get the #1 pick, and the Falcons getting Kirk Cousins. I just thought it was a good time. So definitely appreciate you all for, again, watching. Appreciate you, Berto, for having me.
Man.
I definitely appreciate, anybody, just press that subscribe button for me real quick.
That's it, man.
It's
free, damn it. I like to say that, as many also say, it's free, damn it. It doesn't cost you nothing to hit that subscribe button, man. For sure, man. Yeah. Brice, what do you have coming up? Where can folks find you too, man?
Yes, sir, y'all. Obviously, if you heard me before, y'all find me all my social media, Brice_2K. YouTube, you can put up Brice_2K, or Brice2K Sports, or Believe in Hawks, however you want to find me. I have plenty of keywords and algorithm now you can find me on. Definitely, if you like what you see, man, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, man. We've been growing a lot the last month. I've experienced some growth, so I'm trying to continue the momentum. You know what I'm saying? Trying to get up there with some of the top Atlanta guys in the business, like Berto. You know what I'm saying? But I definitely appreciate him letting me come on, talk some Falcons. Definitely appreciate everybody who tuned in tonight. And listen, it's not the last time y'all gonna see us. I'm gonna do something with Berto. I'm gonna do something with Mark. We're gonna do everything, man. We gonna be touching on a lot of things, man, coming up for a very exciting summer, I think, for Atlanta sports, and then moving forward.
Yep. Well, you got to subscribe it right here. So I'll subscribe to your channel once you drop it. So Mark, man, you got to keep it rolling, man. You got to do it, man. You got to do it, brother.
I got you.
Yep. It's in the chat right there, Carrie. But yes, man, this is amazing. This is what it's all about, man. Just great, clean collaborations, man. Just bringing different perspectives, different ideas, different opinions, and just talking about it, man. At the end of the day, we're all talking about this one said team, and that's the Atlanta Falcons. We all want to see their success. A lot of us have been fans from day one, man, and whatever day one is for you, each and every one of you guys on the panel right now. For me, 1999. I'm not trying to tell my with 1999, but yep, I'm up there too. But yeah, man, this is all we do it for, man. As my guy on the mark says, it's on local business. That's what we standing on, man. Mark, hold on, we got another one. It says, I don't see the link. Mark, shoot me the link. So if you want to drop it here again, or if you follow Steven on YouTube, just go ahead. Yep.
Yeah, I'm dropping. I don't know if y'all can see it, but I mean, it's in my name. Once Berto gets this down, it's Mark Chaney. Y'all can find me on YouTube, Twitter. I'm trying to get everything going, trying to build it up. I mean, and I'm gonna be posting, just a little bit of everything: Atlanta sports, Atlanta news. I'm gonna be posting a little bit about my journey as a realtor here in Jacksonville, Florida. So I'm trying to be like the check down, man. I'm trying to put out that A1 quality content, because if you didn't know, the check down has the best production when it comes to Atlanta sports, man.
That's true.
The check down has the best production. Clean. It's the cleanest. So I'm trying to get like Steve, man. That's all.
I love it, man. I love it, man. But of course, again, man, I'll before we go, this is your boy Berto, your host of 95 North Falcons Talk Show. That's the platform on YouTube. And you can also find me on Twitter or X, whatever you want to refer to, under RI Falcons. And of course, you have two guys that are, content creators as well for the Bleacher Report app, man. Both of us do our thing on the Falcons space. And Mark, does get himself involved in Hawks Talk as well, man. But to the chat, thank you so very much for joining us this evening. We are going to give you your Friday night back, and we thank you again for allowing us to take up an hour and 40 minutes of your time. But until the next time, I'm looking forward to more collaborations with these two gentlemen here. So please be on the lookout for that. Until then, enjoy your Friday night. Peace, everybody.